what do you do if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling blocked? Do you give in to the notion of being positive no matter what? That's exactly what we're talking about today on Mindful Manifesting. You're listening to Ariana Rollins. But before we dive into this episode, which I'm excited for, if you would like to kickstart your manifesting journey, you can get my free gift at mindfulachiever.com. It's really practical. It's got some good, insightful questions for you. There's an exercise in there and a meditation. It's so good. All right. So I have been having conversations with people around how to manifest things in a way that is successful and effective. Okay, sometimes we can come across a methodology that says, don't speak about that which you don't want. Don't talk about challenges or resistance that's coming up because it will power it. It will make it stronger. Only focus on the positivity. Well, my friends, in my experience working with helping my clients remove inner resistance and blocks, that positivity only goes so far. Eventually, whatever is trying to get their attention, yes, I do say that, get their attention. There's a pattern, there's a belief, there's a way of doing and being things that is no longer serving them. And that feeling of stuckness, feeling blocked, is the tip of the iceberg. It's the tip of the tiger's tail. And if we just say, okay, I'm going to bypass it, I'm going to just use positivity and focus on my vision no matter what, then what I call that, and I've heard a few other people in my circle, they call it toxic positivity. I know, it's harsh, right? Toxic positivity. Well, what do we mean by that? Well, when we are feeling lesser, we're having kind of a rough day, or we're feeling sick, and say somebody asks us, like you walk into the grocery store, say, hey, how's your day going? And you say, great, fine. But really, you got a sore throat, you just had an argument with your partner, and your business growth isn't where you want it to be. Is that the truth? Is that the truth? Are you feeling fine? Now, of course, we don't want to expose our belly button and say everything that's going on with the cashier. But could we say something that is truthful, honoring of how we feel? And is it important? Absolutely important. Absolutely. I'll tell you why. What happens over time if we don't state the truth of how we are experiencing life and feeling at the moment. So what I do is if someone asks me, I was like, I've had a bumpy day. Whew. That's all, right? Is it truth? Yeah, but I'm not going to the detail. What happens then if you are noticing you're not making progress and you are feeling that dreaded word stuck, you're feeling blocked? And you're talking to a good friend, maybe your good friend is also a business owner, and they say, but is that what you want more of? Can you focus on the positive? Let's not talk about that. I mean, that's just downer energy. And so you walk away from that conversation and you may think, whoa, who can I talk to? This is how I'm feeling. Now, in my experience, when something is meaningful for you to work on at this time, it's not going to go away. You're going to start to get these little messages, maybe thoughts, maybe feelings. You could actually feel sensations in your body. You can start to get a tightness in your chest. You can start to get a little, a kind of heavy rock lump-like feeling in your belly. And what those are, in my work, are body feelings that are being communicated from your unconscious mind, hoping hoping to get your attention, to get your conscious attention. And they say, whoa, I got this body feeling. Oh, I got to write this down. And then you start to clear the resistance. You start to clear the blocks. And then you significantly can move forward, authentically move forward, rather than a bypass, an emotional bypass, or positive, toxic positivity. Just this morning, I had a really rough night's sleep. Oof. And there was no reason for it. I had a really good day yesterday, and I went to sleep early, and I didn't have anything weighing on my mind. Oh, I thought I didn't have anything weighing on my mind. So I wake up at, I went to bed early, so it must have been like 11 or 12 o'clock. And I had these thoughts spinning around in my head. And they were so unimportant. They were communications that I had had with a couple of people on my team. And they weren't bad. It was just like, I'm feeling a bit stressed. I'm a little confused about this communication, not sure how to proceed. That's all I said. But a part of me was trying to communicate. There's more to it, Ariana. Our unconscious mind, when we go to sleep, it has access. It has, because your analytical mind is out of the way, you're sleeping, your unconscious mind kind of comes to the forefront. This is how I understand it, simply describing it. And if we're not resolved with a situation, the unconscious mind is going to just keep bringing it forward until we wake up. And then we have those thoughts. Now, most people, and I tell you, I will admit it, I tried to do it last night. Most people would just, okay, I'm just going to push this thought aside and go to sleep. Well, I tried that. It didn't work. So I said, okay, I'm going to do a Dr. Joe Dispenza restorative sleep meditation. Did that for 25 minutes. Laid my head on the pillow. Still, thoughts spinning around in my mind. I was like, okay, this is not going away. I really wanted a good night's sleep. So I said, you know what to do, Ariana? Get up and do a process. So I got up. I started just writing on a piece of paper. I'm going to share this exercise. I find it very useful to start to uncover the resistance. And sometimes we get an insight and a message and the block goes away completely on its own. That's the best times. So I start writing down, that communication, asking myself, why is it so troubling? I started to get some insights. And then it started to lead into, oh, that's the pattern. Go along to get along. And I'm like, no, I thought I'd resolved that. Nope. It reared its little ugly head, the pattern of wanting to be nice, go along to get along. And because I had communicated in ways that I didn't think was, quote, nice, I was getting disturbed. I was experiencing inner contradiction. I was experiencing conflict, like two parts of me being pulled in two different directions. That's what it feels like when a blocker is running. So I said, okay, I know what to do here. So I started to work on, it's a really wonderful blocker clearing process, which I teach in the highest potential. I'll describe it briefly here. So we have different parts or programs or habits, ways of being in the world. Okay. Now, there is this whole body of psychology called part psychology. This is not what we're talking about. This is different. These are parts of you that adopted a certain way of being to get along in the world. And that it could have happened when you were 10 years old. When your teacher called you out on saying why, when answering the question of why you didn't do the homework, and you said, I didn't want to. That was honest. That was truthful. But you don't say that to people in authority, do you? I learned that one. And so you ended up going to the principal's office. So as you're sitting in the principal's office, like, oh my gosh, I'm losing time in class, and I know I'm going to have detention. What was I thinking to say that? So you start to adopt a new way of being in the world, one that will make less waves. And that becomes a pattern. That becomes a program. Now, over time, you become unconscious to that program. It just runs automatically in the background. You have no conscious awareness of it. It served you in the past because now you're not getting in trouble. You're not going to the principal's office, so all is good, right? That pattern served you with your boss when your boss was telling you to stay late on Friday night and you had a fantastic date planned with your partner. It served you, right? You kept your job. And your boss was happy and maybe gave you a little bonus. So these parts, these ways of being, these habits, these behaviors, they're not terrible by any means. They serve you. That's why they're not easy to track down. The only place that I have found in being able to track down those parts, understand what they're trying to do for us positively, and resolve them and get them back to a supportive behavior is in the highest potential program, inspired by cybernetic transposition. You don't have to look up that word. It's a big, bulky word. Not a great word, but it's a phenomenal system. So why is it important to address that pattern directly? Well, it changes your life going forward. I'd like you to imagine you've got a circle, and that circle is the present moment. And off to the left is an arrow, and that arrow is our past. Off to the right is an arrow, and that arrow is our future. If we get triggered, if we get blocked, if we get stuck, it's happening to us where? In the present moment. But if we use toxic positivity and we just try to feel better in this present moment, that pattern that started in the past is going to keep influencing our present moment, and guaranteed, my friends, it's going to influence your future. So resolving it by digging into it in the present moment when it's challenging you right now and clearing it, it changes your future in amazing ways. So I did this, the beginning of this blocker clearing. I got it all written down. I'm like, I'm just going to sit with it. I'm going to see if I can go back to sleep. I immediately fell back to sleep and had a good 6 hours of deep restorative sleep. Yeah, normally Dr. Joe's meditation can help, but not when my unconscious mind has a message for me. So how to get your messages. Let me tell you about this free-form writing. It's I call it also nicknamed conscious complaining. Take a blank piece of paper. You could set a timer for about 15 minutes and just start writing whatever's coming up. Circle any insights, any gems, any pearls that, I didn't think about that. That's a good one. But everything else, just categorize it as mental and emotional pooping. You don't want to read it. So when you feel this calmness in your body, which I did, but I also knew this go along to get along pattern was something I needed to work on. So I moved into a blocker clearing. You don't have to do that right now. So if you want to learn how to do it, reach out to me. Happy to share it with you. Okay. So you're done with that. You're feeling calm. You rip up that original piece of paper. Copy the gems, those wisdom, and put them onto a new piece of paper, maybe in your journal, because maybe you can take action on those. And then rip up that piece of paper. Your conscious complaining should not be reread by you or anyone else. You want to allow it to kind of be flushed. It's mental and emotional pooping. It can be really effective. So that's conscious complaining, also called free-form writing. You might look it up. And it can get you some insight. It can get you to hopefully a place of clarity why those thoughts won't go away and that you can do something about them. And if you want to learn more about how to clear blockers, that's one of the, I think, most profound parts of the work that I teach, is that it helps really transform our life, not just in the present moment. It's not feeling good, and it's not like escaping to the future, focusing on our vision board. Nothing wrong with that. But if there is something troubling us, far, far better to resolve it. I don't know if you've ever been in a relationship where you have this recurring argument. and you can't seem to come to a harmonious agreement. Does it get better? Probably not. Because it's like it festers like a little infected wound. And then every time it rears its head, the whole history of the argument comes with it. And then you lose presence, you lose consciousness, you go into your reactive patterns. We all do it. Far better to look a little deeper. And what's interesting, I'm going to digress and I'm going to tell you a story and then we'll start to wrap up. It's interesting. I went to this day-long event and it's called Neuro Change Systems. It's something that Dr. Joe created. It's a little training program for training consultants to go into companies, corporations, to give them a taste of how you can change. There's a few meditations you get. It was a really good program. I do recommend it. It's not inexpensive. It's $1,000 for the day, less than going to one of his retreats. And I did find it was helpful and helped me integrate pieces that I had been learning along the way. But what was funny is I was thinking, and I was talking to the trainer, how did you get to be a trainer? What's it cost? Well, it's completely directed by Dr. Joe and his work. And there is nothing that's outside of his work. It's just a little snapshot that person is allowed and permission to teach. What it really is a promotion for his week-long events. Brilliant businessman. I got to tell you, brilliant. Brilliant. Because that's the next step, isn't it? So, change. One of the things that stood out, there were many takeaways from that, is that Dr. Joe does not focus on analyzing something. He doesn't focus on the present moment and going back to the past and resolving that pattern. It's present moment and future. That's it. And I think that's like a two-legged stool. In my experience, I've had many people who've gone very deep into his work, gone to 10 retreats, and they come to me and they're experiencing breakthroughs. Because I don't believe if we ignore the past, if we don't address those things in our past, I think eventually they will come up. It's kind of like, picture this. You're swimming in the pool and you're playing with this beach ball. It's filled with a bunch of air and you push the beach ball down and you're kind of floating on the top of it, and then you let go of the pressure and the beach ball shoots up high into the sky. It's like that. When we have resistance or when we have something that has been troubling us for a while, at the first sign of stress, it's like we release our hands on that beach ball and that shoots up like a geyser of stress. And then now there's a release, right? But the pattern's not shifted. We have just triggered it. So I believe for the greatest success in manifesting the greatest fulfillment of our destiny and having the greatest future possible is sitting on a three-legged stool, which means focusing on what's stopping us and blocking us today, identifying the pattern, and I'm not talking about therapy at all. I'm not talking about talk therapy. Side story, I was going to be a therapist and I was in school for it, and when I started to realize the restrictions, I could only work with someone for 6 sessions, and then you had to diagnose, you had to put a label on the person, and if they weren't helped in 6 sessions, too bad, their insurance didn't cover. That was just a few of the things that were really bothering me, and there was another reason. I chose not to become a therapist, and then I found this work. And what it is it's a way to self-coach yourself, self-coaching, and empowerment and goal achieving, goal setting. But really the cornerstone of it is clearing the resistance. So you feel peaceful and in harmony. One more thing and then we will wrap up. There's something that also stood out in this day-long event on Saturday was the baseline. Some people have a baseline. They have a resilience when life happens to them, stresses, that it doesn't bother them. The vision I see is like a high baseline. They've got a lot of flexibility. They can handle a lot. And then people have a low threshold for tolerance. They have a low baseline. That any little thing that doesn't go well, it's like they have an explosion, or either internally or externally. And it's really hard for them to recalibrate back to their center. And I believe by reviewing our past with very gentle, loving eyes, gleaning the wisdom from what happened, and retraining our brain for a more positive, productive method and way of getting along, like for me, that go along to get along. It was one of the most brilliant blocker clearings I've done for a while. It was so good. All right. So this was kind of all over the place. Hopefully you've gleaned something valuable, useful. I do appreciate you listening to the podcast. Thank you so much for your time and your energy. And as we wrap up, remember to get that Kickstart Your Manifesting Journey if you're enjoying this at all. And it's got a little guided meditation, a workbook. It's really good. And lastly, as we wrap up, when you confirm yourself, you chart your own path to success. So much love. Many blessings. Bye for now.